So Persona, Discord's shady third-party vendor that is verifying their age verification images that they were, I guess, temporarily using, is now also linked with LinkedIn. LinkedIn, if you guys don't know, is a website where a lot of people are able to network professionally through their careers, find jobs, and make connections with certain employers that they want to try to find a job with. And they are also using Persona to do their ID age verification. So on LinkedIn, there's actually some incentive to try to make your account verified because LinkedIn has a lot of bots, and a lot of times companies will take you more seriously if you apply for a job if you are verified. It's just a shame that that verification is being done by ID age verification. So for example, if you see somebody's name over here on LinkedIn, they can have a blue check mark next to their name, which can show you that they are a verified user. Now, yes, Discord claims that their partnership with Persona was temporary, but the damage has already been done because they were able to get a hold of a lot of people's ID age verification. Shout out to International Cyber Digest for gathering some of this information. But yeah, LinkedIn sends your face and other personal data to a quote global network of trusted third-party data sources, including law enforcement. Not trusted at all, in my opinion. Just like Discord, they use Persona, and your ID and photo are used to train their AI. Persona maintains a public list of sub-processors, aka third-party companies that process your personal data on their behalf. Here's a full list. So this is the list of the processors and what they do with your data. Things ranging from data extraction and analysis, infrastructure image processing, document analysis, device analysis, database services, search and analytics engine, credit card processing, that one's terrifying, communication of APIs, phones and SMS, and so on and so forth. And as you can see, this is mostly happening in the United States. And what happens if your data inevitably leaks, which has been happening quite a lot recently? Well, Persona's terms of service caps their liability at $50 USD. Oh, and you're also agreeing to a mandatory binding arbitration. You can't take them to court. Even if you live in the EU, your data is still processed in the US. So in their privacy policy, they basically say, we will access, disclose, and preserve personal data when we believe doing so is necessary to comply with applicable law or respond to valid legal process, including from law enforcement, national security, or other government agencies. If you guys remember, Discord's former partner Persona recently just got exposed for collecting all of our information that was being sent to them through ID age verification and AI facial scans. They were collecting things like IP addresses, names, phone numbers, and stuff like that. And it was actually being shared with ICE. Yes, the US government agency, ICE, was actually having access to your information, and they were putting you on a risk scale in some sort of like list where they're like, oh, you know, if you're talking bad about ICE on your social medias and stuff like that, you're at a high risk level. This was the type of shit that was going on. And so yet, you know, Discord and Roblox and all those freaking weirdo companies that are trying to get everyone's ID age verification, they're like, oh yeah, don't worry guys, you know, we're just using it to verify your age and nothing else. Just trust us, bro. Well, obviously, as we can see, that was all bullshit. And now there is actually a full article that was talking about somebody who verified their ID on LinkedIn, and the results are pretty terrifying. So this person at the local stack.eu wrote about having their verified LinkedIn identity process and what actually happened when they handed over their ID. So they ended up verifying themselves. They scanned their passport. They took a selfie. 3 minutes later, done. They got the badge, and now they're like, you know what? Now when I go on LinkedIn, people are going to know that I'm a real person, and maybe I can get more jobs, and maybe I can make some more connections. So when you click on verify on LinkedIn, you're not giving your passport to LinkedIn. You get redirected to a company called Persona. Oh God. Yep, we already know where this is going. LinkedIn is a client of theirs. So for Persona, as you guys know, there's already a huge data leak happening with them, and there's probably going to be more in the future. So this is what Persona got from that person handing over their ID. Their full name, passport photo, selfie, facial geometry, which they're going to be using to freaking train their AI, NFC chip data, national ID number, nationality, sex, birth date, and age, email, phone number, and postal address, and their IP address, device type, MAC address, browser, OS version, language, geolocation, and probably the name of their future grandchildren. This was all the information that Persona got just because they handed over an ID and AI facial scan. So the whole thing of like, oh, don't worry, we're just doing it to verify your age and nothing else. Yeah, that's a load of bullshit. They also got some weird stuff as well. Hesitation detection. So they tracked whether this individual paused during the process, and copy and paste detection. They tracked whether I was pasting information instead of typing it. So basically behavioral biometrics. And this was something that was confirmed in that one other Persona exposed video that I was talking about, where they were actually collecting files upon files of like the type of like behavior that an individual would have as well. Now, Persona also is infamous for doing cross-referencing as well, where they try to check your name in all these databases to try to make sure that you are who you say you are, and in turn your privacy is completely violated. So they cross-reference this person against what they call their global network of trusted third-party data sources. So government databases, national ID registries, consumer credit agencies, utility companies, mobile network providers, and postal address database. So this person wanted a check mark on LinkedIn so nobody would think that they're a bot, and instead they ran a background check check on them as if they were running for like the president or something. And then obviously the inevitable part, they were also being used to train AI softwares as well, because here's something that they almost missed. Buried in a table on page 6 of the privacy policy under legitimate interest, they use uploaded images of identity documents. That's their passport to train their AI. They're teaching their system to recognize what passports look like in different countries. They also use your selfie to, quote, identify improvements in the service. The legal basis, not consent, but legitimate interest, meaning they decided on their own that it's fine. Under GDPR, they are supposed to balance their interest against your fundamental rights. So again, this person came for a badge and they ended up being training data. So LinkedIn also is getting your full name, your birth year, your government ID, your verification result, and a blurred version of your ID. And also with access, Persona service providers, their global network of data partners, affiliates and subsidiaries, anyone who buys Persona, and law enforcement. So remember, this person wanted to get a badge on LinkedIn. And so these are going to be the 17 companies that touch your face. This is something that we already went over before. And these are going to be the people who likely will be getting access to your AI age verification information. So just keep this type of stuff in mind if you decide to do any type of age verification for any company, not just LinkedIn. So this person who is from the EU, I believe they are talking about a European passport, all of their information is actually getting scanned outside of the EU. So 16 in the United States and 1 in Canada. And the data extraction and analysis is being done by Anthropic, OpenAI, and Grok Cloud. So basically these AI companies are going to be taking your passport selfie data and processing it and using it to train their software. So AWS handles the image processing, and that's your face going through Amazon's infrastructure. Fingerprint.js, a company literally named after the thing it does, handles device analysis. They're fingerprinting your device while Persona fingerprints your face. And in the privacy policy, it said the data is stored in the United States and Germany. The Germany part is technically true because some of the data sits there, but every single company that processes your data is American. The Cloud Act doesn't just apply to Persona, it applies to all 16 of these US sub-processors too. Once again, just want to reiterate, this person wanted a freaking check mark on LinkedIn so they don't look like a bot, so they don't look like AI, so they don't get a freaking sea of fake recruiters. They wanted to make sure that they are able to get a job normally. They wanted to make sure that they were able to make the right connections, network a little bit, and it only cost them, one little small thing. Yep, their entire privacy and literally everything about them. Yeah, just no big deal, right? It's for the kids, right? And yes, they, through some legal jargon, technically comply with the EU-US data privacy framework. So you can't even really get them in legal trouble because they're, trying to like skirt around like these laws and stuff like that. Like, oh, we technically follow them and stuff like that. But they're also following all the US surveillance laws, which makes it impossible to guarantee European data is safe. So the reality is you scan your passport in Madrid, Berlin, or Dublin, Persona stores it maybe in Germany, maybe in the United States, and the Cloud Act gives US authorities access regardless of where it sits. The DPF is supposed to protect you, but it's built on sand, and a national security arrest could grab your biometric data without you ever knowing. So yeah, like they say, one little subpoena, and all of a sudden, all of your data has been given to the United States government, even if you don't even live in the United States. So here's some of the biometric data information that they're talking about. So Persona extracts the mathematical geometry of your face from your selfie and from your passport photo. This isn't just a picture, it's a numerical map of the distances between your eyes, the shape of your jawline, the geometry of your features, and it's data that uniquely identifies you. And unlike a passport, you can't change your face if it gets compromised. So their policy says the scan is destroyed upon completion of verification or within 6 months of your last interaction. Yep, definitely destroyed. Definitely we don't have data leaks, every other week now where a bunch of people's AI age verification information is being leaked. I don't trust a single word they say, whether they say they're going to delete it immediately or within 6 months. I don't trust it at all. They're probably going to keep it for a very long time. However, there is even an exception to that rule, unless Persona is otherwise required by law or legal process to retain the data. This is going back to that whole ICE thing that we were talking about. So a US legal process could force Persona to keep your biometric data indefinitely, so literally forever. The 6-month clock means nothing if a court says hold on to this. So let's talk about what happens if something goes wrong, like there's a breach or something like that, right? Persona's terms of service cap their liability at $50, your passport, your face, your biometric data, your national ID number, for $50. Trust me, I know what it's like to have something of mine bought for $50. I totally get it. If you know, you know. But they also include mandatory binding arbitration, no court, no jury, no class action. You can only bring claims individually through the American Arbitration Association, even if you're in Europe and the dispute is about European data. For EU/EEA residents, the TOS says Irish law governs a contract, which sounds better until you remember Irish law governs a contract, but US law governs the company. The Cloud Act doesn't care what your contract says. So here's what you can do if you have already verified your data. So you want to go ahead and request it. These are some places that you can email, especially with Persona. Under GDPR, they have 30 days to respond. And also you can request a deletion. The verification is done. LinkedIn already has a result. There's no reason for Persona to keep it or your passport scan and facial geometry in their servers. Ask them to delete it. You can also contact their DPO. So DPO with Persona, that's their data protection officer. If you want to object them to using your documents as AI training data, this is where you do it. Think twice before verifying. The blue badge may not be worth it. And yeah, I totally agree with that. In fact, my advice would be just don't do age verification at all. Don't do ID age verification. Don't do AI facial scans. All you're doing is putting yourself at unnecessary risk for a data leak. I know what people are going to say. Oh, they already have your information anyway. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, what? So you want them to have more information? You want more people to have your information like Persona and Discord and Roblox and LinkedIn? The less people have my information, the better. The more I'm happy. So no, I don't want to use AI facial scans or ID verification to use LinkedIn or Roblox or YouTube or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I just want to go ahead and be able to use these websites normally without having to hand over my biometric data. Look at what they're doing with this type of stuff. Persona especially is like the shadiest freaking third-party vendor in the world in terms of AI age verification. So definitely stay away from them. The second that you hear that AI age verification is being handled by Persona, that is your signal to turn around and run because they're just going to be taking your information and selling it. So yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the situation in the comments. Persona is definitely super shady, and now they're even invading LinkedIn. Please leave a like in the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more. See ya.